Hello everybody, my name is Kate Olaf and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to buy a house for beginners. Now, if you have never purchased a home, buying a home can seem like a very daunting and scary task, which, to be honest with you, it can be if you don't know what you're doing. And if you're a first-time home buyer, how the heck do you know what to expect if you've never bought a home? It makes me think of when I was trying to get a credit card for the first time in my life, and I couldn't get a credit card because I didn't have credit. And I thought it was the dumbest thing because that was the reason I was getting a credit card, was to start building my credit. So again, if you've never bought a home before, how do you know what to expect? So step one, the first thing that you really need to understand before going out and even looking at homes, go meet with a lender/realtor. Okay, your first step should be to meet with the professionals who can guide you the entire process. Because let's face it, if you start looking at homes and then you find a realtor, or you start searching mortgage products and then you go and find a lender, you've already done yourself a disservice because you got into something you really didn't understand and you're trying to now understand it, versus just keeping an open mind, meeting with the professional, and then going from there. So I cannot encourage it enough. Your first step absolutely should be to meet with either a lender or realtor. Now, if you meet with a realtor, chances are their first suggestion to you is going to be to meet with a lender. So what a lender is someone that just lends you money. That's all they do. And in this case, because you're buying a home, you will most find them referred to as mortgage brokers or mortgage officers or mortgage lenders. But they're all the same thing and they all help you do the same thing, and that's borrow money to buy a home. Now, when you meet with these lenders, they're going to ask you a lot of questions about your finances, your work history, and things of that nature, which is all needed, and that's fine. One thing you want to take a mental note of is I always encourage people to try and interview multiple lenders if possible. Again, they can all help you do the same thing, but where the real value comes in interviewing multiple ones is figuring out who do you feel like you can work best with. You are making one of the biggest transactions of your life, and so you want to make sure that the person you're working with is professional, they understand what it is you need, and they are very reliable. And if you don't feel that way coming out of a meeting with some of these lenders, I am the first one to tell you, do not use them. Go find someone else who you feel like is a better fit. The second step now is going to be hiring a realtor, who is the person that's going to help you find the home and actually walk you through the entire process of purchasing that house. Now, the difference between a lender and a realtor is this. A lender is strictly in regards to financing. A realtor is specific in regards to the real estate that you're purchasing. Okay, so it's two separate people, but they work together to make the transaction happen. So on top of meeting with a lender, you want to also meet with realtors. Pick one you feel like can best serve you. Again, they can all do the same thing. No shock there, okay? But again, you want to interview multiple and figure out, do I trust this person? Do I feel like I can actually work with this person, that they'll communicate with me, that they're honest, that they're trustworthy? These are all things that you want to internalize as you're interviewing these different people. Okay, so now you have your lender, you have your realtor. The next step is to go home shopping. This goes without saying, home shopping is pretty easy. You either find a home that you send to your realtor, or your realtor sends you homes that you guys want to go look at. But nonetheless, a couple things that I want you to understand as a beginner that you might overlook when first looking at homes, because the process is just so overwhelming and quite honestly fun. One thing you want to pay attention to when you're home shopping, and this is the golden rule of real estate, is location. But aside from just the general location of where you're buying, I'd strongly encourage you to look at the following. How much traffic goes by your home just on an average day and at night? I always encourage that you go in person in the day and in person at night to the property to just kind of see what are the neighbors doing, what's the type of activity that you're getting around the home. Is that something that you're open to? Because you can't change that once you buy it, okay? Another thing that I strongly encourage you to look at is the floor plan of the home to an extent. Obviously, some floor plans you can change, but the overall floor plan, is it something that will work for you in your situation? As an example, some people might have a big family, and so they need a lot of open areas and a lot of bedrooms, whereas in Maybe you're just a single person who doesn't care about that stuff, and you just want a really big shop for all your tools. Okay, those are some things you can't really change, especially if it's in an HOA, things of that nature. So, not to get too specific, ask your realtor if you have any questions on those types of specific things. But over the color of items and different textures of things and like that, a lot of people will look at those items. I strongly discourage that. Just look at the overall floor plan, look at the location. Can you see yourself waking up there every single day? Because it will be in a reality. Okay, so now you found your perfect home, you got your offer accepted, you submitted an offer with your agent, your offer has now been accepted. What does this mean? Well, what it means is that you now have, depending on your contract, typically 30 to 45 days to go through the process of buying the home. This is where your lender's gonna start getting involved, and they're gonna make sure that your financing gets in order and doesn't delay your closing timeline. And this is really where the two parties within the transaction are doing most of all, if not all, the work. So a big portion of this 30, 45 day timeline is where you as a buyer, at least in the state of Arizona where I am, you are going to have what's called your due diligence period. This is typically 10 days of time where you as a buyer get to basically flip that house upside down. That way you can find absolutely anything you can that might deter you from purchasing and going through with that purchase of that home. So this is your time. You have 10 days to do it unless it's otherwise specified in the contract. You have 10 days to do it. And this is the time where you want to look at all the HOA guidelines. Is there anything that would deter you from purchasing the home via the HOA? This is where you get to go talk to the neighbors. You get to do inspections on the home and make sure there's nothing substantially wrong with it. You get to look at different laws of maybe the area that you're purchasing in. This is where you get to go really look deep into the neighborhood that you're buying in. This is your time to really do your due diligence, and that's why they call it the due diligence period. Again, typically 10 days unless otherwise specified. All right, so that was your next step. You got your offer accepted, now you're doing your due diligence period, and throughout this whole process, you're communicating with your realtor and your lender, and you're scheduling all these different things, asking questions, and doing the whole bit. After you have your 10-day inspection period or your 10-day due diligence period to do what you need to do as a buyer, make sure you're comfortable moving forward with the purchase. The next step, if you're getting a loan, which if you're a first-time home buyer, chances are you're probably getting a loan, then the next step is what we call the appraisal. Now, the appraisal is something you as a buyer pay for, typically, unless you negotiate another way, but typically you as a buyer are going to pay for the appraisal. The lender is going to order the appraisal, and essentially what that is another inspection done by a third-party company who tests the value of the price that you're paying for the home. Okay, so let's say you got under contract on the home for 300 grand, and your lender is going to order an appraiser. They're going to go out there, they're going to do an inspection, and they're going to make sure that that property is actually worth 300 grand relative to the market around it. Okay, because if it's not worth 300 grand, they're going to let the lender know, and the lender's going to tell you as a buyer, hey, hold up, this property isn't worth 300 grand. I'm not lending you the money until we figure this out. Okay, so that is the appraisal process. Again, you pay for it as a buyer. It's hired by the lender and a need for the lender in order to fund your loan, because they want to make sure that you as a buyer are paying a proper price for a home that you're not overpaying. Because if you overpay, the problem is this: if you overpay and then you default on your loan, then guess what? The lender now has a home in their possession that they can't sell to recoup their money. So that's a problem for the lender. And so they want to make sure what they're lending on is worth it. Okay, so that's the appraisal process. Once the appraisal is done, now your next step as a buyer is going to be to complete your final walkthrough. This is going to a time, typically three days to a week before closing, where you as a buyer get to go back to the property, walk through the home, make sure that the seller took care of everything they agreed to take care of, and make sure that the property is in the same condition as it was when you first saw the home. That's the final buyer walkthrough. Then from there, you're probably going to sign documents at a title company. This is finalizing all of the financials and the actual recordation of the new deed that makes you the owner of the property. And then from there, you have your closing day. Congratulations, you're now a new homeowner. It's a very exciting feeling. Now again, this might sound like a lot, but I want to encourage you guys, if you're considering buying your first home, you have a realtor and a lender who are doing most of all this legwork. They have all the connections, they're aware of all the timelines, so you don't really need to do anything if you have a good realtor and you have a good lender. All right, so thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions on the buyer timeline or how buying a home works, there's a lot to it, but that's again why you want to hire professional help, because they protect you guys, they take on a lot of liability, and they do it all of the time. So they're aware of what to look out for. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Please consider subscribing and commenting on this video. And if you want to watch more informational and educational videos like this, I'd greatly appreciate a follow from here on out. Again, my name is Kate Olaf, and I'll see you guys in the next one.